If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right. It is fair to say it is a good time to be a fan of mixed martial arts, especially one of the biggest events of the year coming up this Saturday at Madison Square Garden, UFC 244. The event's going to be headlined by Jorge Masvidal taking on Nate Diaz for the BMF title. And in full disclosure, I am very excited about this conversation. My wife, who is my biggest supporter, is always excited for me when I interview the fighters. But when I told her this conversation was happening, she was all in on this. This is very exciting. As joining me to preview UFC 244 is a member of the 1996 gold medal winning United States gymnastics team, the youngest Olympic gold medalist in U.S. gymnastics history, became the youngest winner of the all-around title in 1995 at the age of 13 at the U.S. National Championship. She's a coach, a gym owner, an author, and on top of that, she's a huge fan of mixed martial arts. Dominique Moceanu is here. How are you, Dominique? What a pleasure this is, and happy Halloween to you.
Happy Halloween. Thanks for that fine introduction. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for doing this. Before we get into the card on Saturday and talk about some of the big fights, you're obviously a big fan of the sport. I believe you and your husband will be in attendance at MSG on Saturday, I was told. How did you get into this sport, into this crazy world of MMA? What drew you into it?
Well, it's kind of an interesting story. So it was through my husband, and my husband was a gymnast at The Ohio State University in the mid-1990s, and the wrestlers and gymnasts would share, common locker rooms and the sauna and things like that. So one day, Mike ran into the late Kevin Randleman and also Mark Cole in the sauna, and he was asking them, what are you guys up to? And the long and short of it was like, well, we're on our way to Japan. We fight men. That's what Mark Coleman said. And little did my husband know that really those were the days, the beginning days of Pride fighting. And ever since then, we really were hooked. And in our relationship, my husband hooked me onto the sport. And we were literally going to the Blockbuster Video and watching the DVD. Well, the VHSs, and then the DVDs, and then we moved to Spike, and then it moved to Fox Sports, and then ESPN. So we really have followed it all the way from those days.
So you've been a fan for a really long time.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. It's kind of been cool to see the evolution of the sport and going through, so many different promotions now that are available. Fights are on so much more than ever. It is a very exciting time to be a fight fan.
With that being said, with so many fight cards going on, I know you're a very busy, driven person. You have a lot going on these days. Are you someone that watches every event, every fight card? Like, I know sometimes it's a struggle, like with the Singapore card last week, starting at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But do you try to watch and consume everything?
I try to watch what I can, definitely the things that I'm interested in. Sometimes it conflicts with my work schedule and also my coaching schedule. So I'll be able to catch things, after the fact, or my husband will record it if he's staying up really, really late and I've just, I'm beat. But I'll try to stay up as long as I can to watch definitely my favorites. But it's always exciting. So I try to watch as much as I can.
Who are some of those favorites that you talk about here?
One of my all-time favorites has to be GSP. I've always loved GSP from the very beginning. I thought he was just such a class act, always such a student of the sport, I felt like, and always looking to evolve his discipline. The way he approaches the sport is really interesting, and he loves gymnastics, which made me love him even more. So he always gave kudos to gymnastics, in recent times, and the fact that he uses it for his training, I think is, extremely beneficial. As I know, the sport of gymnastics can benefit so many different athletes. It helps wrestlers. It helps a lot of athletes evolve their skill level. So GSP is definitely one of them. John Jones, I would love to see him just get out there and get after it. I also love Stipe. Stipe is a Cleveland native, and obviously I live in Cleveland and have for nearly 20 years now. So we love Stipe. We've met him a couple of times, and my son took a couple of classes at his gym. So that's really exciting. We're always rooting for Cleveland. I love the ladies' side. Obviously, there's many women that I love there. Holly Holm has always been someone I admired. I like the way she goes into her training, and there's a lot of killers. Joanna Jacek, really like her, just a great personality. And now Macy Barber, the young prodigy who really wants to set out and beat John Jones' record. So I'm kind of intrigued because a lot of people considered me a child prodigy in our sport. I had accomplished things the youngest, in my sport up until this day. I still hold some of the youngest records. So it's really going to be cool to see the evolution of Macy in the sport. She's a beast out there. I like watching her as well. And obviously Masvidal and all of the cards that are coming up this weekend are super exciting. We have a Texas native, who's someone who I admire as well. He's a lot of fun to watch. So, yeah.
So let's gauge your excitement levels, and I know they're probably at an all-time high here for UFC 244. The buzz surrounding this card, most notably the main event, it's definitely in the air. People are very, very excited for this. I saw you post a UFC 244 jack-o'-lantern on your Twitter page this morning, so this may be a silly question. You'll be there on a scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you for Saturday night?
Oh, a 10. Has to be a 10. This is like a very, very exciting card that we're going to see. I mean, we get to see it live, so this is really a lot of fun. This is my anniversary weekend as well that we're celebrating, 13 years of marriage. So Monday is our actual anniversary. So we decided to get a little getaway, have the gym covered. So I'm super pumped to head on out to New York City this weekend.
Well, happy anniversary to you and your husband. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Let's talk the main event. Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz. And a lot of people are you've been a fan for a long time. This is sort of a battle of the OGs in the fight game. Both guys have been around for a long time. Both guys have had this incredible ascension in the sport. Masvidal went from losing back-to-back fights, taking all of 2018 off, and returning with two of the most vicious knockouts you'll ever see. As someone who competed on big stages as a professional athlete in your own right, how refreshing is it for you to watch two guys who have worked so hard, grinding away to hone their craft and finding the global success that they're having right now?
Well, it's very exciting because, you're matching up two killers here. They're just going to go at it and give it a war. There's no doubt both of them are going to go for some finishes. And that's going to be what's going to be so exciting about this entire matchup. It's really been cool to get to know a little bit of their personalities on a more personal level through the embeddeds as well. I like watching those leading up to the fight. It gets us super excited. When I come home from the gym, my husband and I are watching them, and right before we put the kids to bed, we're like, okay, we got that ready and we're going to watch it. And, we have our little routine leading up to the fight week. So it's been really interesting to hear even more of Masvidal's story and his father's story. I think that's, it's really interesting that, his father, the way he came over to this country, I find fascinating, and that he had such courage to come over in the way that he did. And then you have Diaz, who's been, a stud of the sport for so many years. The guy's got a chin. So we're going to see it tested this weekend as well, right? They're both super studs, super killers, and that's just going to make it super exciting.
In a world where closed mouths don't get fed, the Conor McGregor era of trash talking, you have two guys who have the utmost respect for each other. Both guys obviously want to win, but there's no real beef here. Like they're gonna fight on Saturday, and there's no need to make up any fictitious beefs or any sort of drama or anything like that. As a fan, do you like the trash talking side of things, or do you appreciate the fact that this fight is so big that it really sells itself?
Yeah, it really does sell itself. I think it depends on the personalities trying to do the trash talking. It works for some people, and some people it doesn't. And you got to know if it works for you or not, because it doesn't sell as much if it doesn't work for you. So that's okay. There's different styles. There's different personalities. For one, I think the banter can be fun. It can be interesting to see what everyone says to each other, but it's kind of building things up. It's showing interest, and it's creating some kind of a story, right? So you can get hooked and get connected and find someone that you want to cheer for. So I understand what it's for. You got to play the game well if you're going to do it, right? So that's another side of it, is if you're going to get into those wars, you better be able to handle them. And then there's the other side where the BMF title, obviously in the title alone, you know what this is about. So this is going to be the OGs, like you said, and they have the skill. They don't need all the trash talking right now because the two of them are selling it itself. So that's basically what's happening. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So basically, they're selling the fight itself because of the records that they have and the fact that they're known for going for finishes. They're known for sticking it out and grinding it out, and they're known for battles. So, I mean, everybody loves that. We want to see it go 5 rounds, and we'll see, We'll see if it's going to go till the finish.
What do you think of adding the BMF title to the mix here and the UFC creating an actual championship belt for this? Are you into this whole thing?
I think it's gotten mixed reviews, and I just love a good fight. So for me, if that's what the fans want to see and it's exciting, sure, throw it out there. But it is supposed to be a one-time, one-and-done thing. You never lose it. You never defend it. So I think there's like some high stakes when you do it that way. There's like only one chance to do it. But who knows? You never know what the future will hold if they decide to do it again. As of now, they're like, no. But, I just want a good fight. And whatever you call it is fine with me. I like the title. I think it's going to be a great battle of, the skills here. And people who have been in the sport a long time, and maybe people who didn't know Masvidal on such a level or Diaz on such a level, you're going to get to see them, duke it out.
What is your heart telling you here in terms of how this is going to play out on Saturday? Do you see Nate Diaz getting his hand raised, or do you see Masvidal continuing this meteoric rise here in 2019?
Oh, my goodness. Honestly, I think everyone can agree that it can go either way in a hot second. So it all just depends. Does someone get caught? Is it going to go to the finish? Who's going to have the strongest chin? Who's going to have the surprises, the unexpected things that you don't know to anticipate for? Because really, you're going in there and you never know what to expect. That's the really interesting thing about, mixed martial arts and, fighting in these combat sports is you could train and have every solution possible in your head, but you honestly just don't know what someone's going to throw at you, and you never want to get caught. So, you have to be very strategic to be a cerebral fighter. And I think sometimes no matter how much you train, people get caught still, right? Things happen. But that's what makes it exciting. And I think they're both going to bring their A game as they always do to every fight. And it'll be exciting. I don't want to make predictions because I'll just be in it for the ride, and I'll be happy with whoever wins because they're both studs and I want them both to do well. But yeah, I'd like to see a war.
Fair enough. I like your stance on this. Let's just watch a good fight. Let's not make predictions. I'm kind of with you. I hate making predictions myself. Co-main event, you get Kelvin Gastelum returning after that ridiculous fight with Israel Adesanya. They fought for the interim middleweight title earlier this year. He's taking on Darren Till. Till's first fight, 185 pounds in the UFC. His first fight as a middleweight in over 5 years. And he gets one of the toughest tests possible to introduce himself to the UFC middleweight division in Kelvin Gastelum. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Oh, I mean, man, right now, who knows? It's going to be interesting to see how the weight is going to help Till out. We'll see how that's going to benefit him, less weight cut. His training probably, was going very well according to the embedded. So we'll see. He feels pretty healthy and pretty ready to go. But Gastelum, he is a force to be reckoned with. So I think it's going to be exciting. I don't know if the weight class is going to be too much. The division is going to be too much for Till at this point, but only time will tell because it did make Gastelum better. But it took a little bit of time to kind of get into that rhythm of working with people that are bigger. They're bigger than you. So we'll see. I'm sure that they're both physically prepared and they're ready to go, but I might have to give Gastelum the Till on that one, but we'll see. We'll see, right?
I think one of the under-the-radar fights on this main card is the welterweight fight between Stephen Thompson and Vicente Luque. I mean, you have Wonder Boy, just one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet and talk to. He's fought for the belt a couple of times. He's on a little bit of a skid right now, taking on a really dangerous guy. Vicente Luque has won 6 straight. What do you think about this fight? And as a parent yourself, I know I feel this way as a father. If my kid's going to follow somebody in mixed martial arts, Wonder Boy's got to be that guy.
Oh, Wonder Boy is awesome. Super nice guy. He holds his head up high and he walks the walk. And I think that's really admirable. But yeah, I mean, Vicente's crazy though, right? He'll do some crazy things, unexpected. I can't believe he had, dislocated his shoulder on the celebration of one of his fights. So, the guy's unpredictable. He's going to do anything and everything it takes to bring out all of his skill set. But I think, Stephen Wonder Boy Thompson, he's also a very cerebral fighter. I mean, he's been in the game a long time. He's studious, and I think that he's going to give it everything he's got to. He loves this stuff, he thrives on all of this. But with Vicente, you just honestly don't know he's unpredictable. And that can be a very exciting fight when someone's that unpredictable and a little bit, he's a little crazy in there. So we'll see what happens.
You got Derrick Lewis taking on Blagoy Ivanov. Gregor Gillespie's fighting Kevin Lee, rounding out the main card. This whole card is just stacked, as you know. Derrick Lewis, I want to talk about because he's just hilarious. You talk about Texas fighters. He's full of sound bites. Are you a big fan of the Black Beast?
Oh, yeah. He's hilarious. Derrick cracks me up. And, of course, he shares Texas as our home, right? Texas is my home away from home because I grew up there. My mom and my sister still live there. My cousin still lives there. So, it has a special place in my heart still, even though Ohio is home. I still love a little bit of Texas for sure. And he just cracks me up. The guy is just hilarious. And he's a super nice guy. What he did after, the natural disasters in Texas, I think was really admirable for him to get out there and help people. It just showed that he's got a big heart. And I like that.
Did you watch the card in Boston a couple weeks ago with Dominic Reyes and Chris Weidman?
Oh, yeah. I know. It was tough. That was tough.
You're a Weidman fan?
Weidman's always been someone, that I've looked up to. I met Weidman, always cheered for him, when he knocked out and, he knocked down Silva twice. I mean, people thought it was a fluke the first time, and then when he did it twice, we're like, no, it's not. And he's a skilled guy, and I feel for him right now, but I'm rooting for him. I don't know what the future holds for Weidman, but, my heart's with him because it's tough when you take a couple of beatings like that. It's really tough. It's tough on your motivation. It's tough on your family. And it's not, easy for them to watch you get hurt like that and in brutal fashion. So really rooting for Weidman. I think he's just a great all-around person. Always been a great fighter too. And so I'd love to see him, knock it out one of these times if he continues.
I agree. Weidman, one of the good guys in the sport, but Dominic Reyes, 12-0, undefeated, just knocked out the aforementioned Chris Weidman in the first round in Boston. Now, Saturday night, there's a big fight at 205 between Corey Anderson and Johnny Walker. In my opinion, and this is no disrespect to either of these two guys, unless there's some sort of crazy show-stealing finish in that fight, I feel like Dominic Reyes should be next to fight John Jones no matter what happens. Do you agree with that, or do you feel like the winner of the Anderson versus Walker fight should fight John next?
Oh, let's see. That it's interesting, but I think you may have a point there. It's all going to depend on, how things kind of go, right? I think that's what everybody kind of waits for. You wait to see what that next step is, but I think you may have a point that maybe the direction that it's heading, it makes sense. But again, there's a lot of unknown factors that, you could say this now, but then something could switch and flip and change in a day or two. And then something could, sweep in and be like, oh, this is the fight that's going to happen. So again, it looks like it could be in that direction, and I think it makes most sense. But time will tell. I mean, it'd be nice to see John Jones out there again.
Absolutely, and I'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the little women's fight on the card. Jennifer Maia taking on Kaitlyn Chukagian. A potential title shot against Valentina Shevchenko is on the line, especially if Kaitlyn wins, one would think. Hugely overlooked fight on this card because of the depth of it, but this one should be getting a little more love, right?
Definitely. I love the female fighters. I mean, the fighters are so exciting. And remember the day where, Dana said, oh, we're not going to have females, fighting in this sport. I remember that so clearly. And here you are. I mean, women are making the headlines in a lot of these fights. So I'm pretty excited to see any female fights that go on. I'm excited for the women. I'm glad that they've gotten the prestige they've gotten and received over the years, and that they're starting to, to be main cards on events, and maybe not this time around, but they're starting to be really recognized in the sport. And I think that the women's side just has a lot of excitement. Their fights are really exciting, so it'll be fun to watch them live.
It all goes down this Saturday at MSG. You'll be there. The Rock's going to be there. Even President Trump is scheduled to be in attendance. Everyone's coming out for this one. As a fight fan, you talk about the excitement levels of just watching, a big fight. There's really, Saturday night, big fights coming up. There's very few feelings like that, knowing that a big fight's coming up. To be in attendance at the Mecca, at the world's most famous arena, what is that going to mean to you?
Oh my goodness. I mean, anytime I get a chance to get out and watch a sporting event these days, it's a big deal because I have, 100-hour work weeks, and I grind it out every day. And I think that's something that I really appreciate about the fight game, is that discipline that really crosses over from gymnastics into the fight game. And in any sport that you have to have immense amount of discipline in, I appreciate that. And so the excitement, the build up, everything is going to be thrilling, and we're going to see a lot of really great fights. I'm really looking forward to this. This is probably one of the biggest cards, right, ever. So I'm super pumped about it, and we'll see what happens. I can't wait to be in the arena rather than watching it on TV this time.
I agree. Before we let you go, and this has been incredible, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I saw on social media that there's a documentary being filmed on your gym, the Dominique Moceanu Gymnastics Center, #DMGC. Can you talk about that, what it's going to be focused around, when we can expect that to be released, where we can catch it when it does get released? Can you talk about that?
Well, I can't talk about all the details right now based on the confidentiality agreement, but it is going to air sometime in the 2020 Olympic time frame. So next year, it's not only on our gym, but our gym gets to be a piece of it, which is really special for us. And I was asked to be a part of it. They will be coming back to get some more B-roll for next year's coverage. But I think, they found out a lot of things because I'm very candid, I'm very straightforward, and I'm very honest in my interviews. And I think people can sense that. But they were really thrilled with what they shot, and they want to come back and get some more. So it's going to be a documentary about, gymnastics in general and the history of it and the perfection of it and, those kinds of things. But they haven't finalized the title yet. So once they do, I'll definitely be posting it. But thanks for celebrating our gym and doing the interview today.
We will certainly keep our eyes out for that. This is incredible, Dominique. Great stuff. I know you have a lot going on. I appreciate the time very much. Before we let you go, let the folks know where they can find and follow you on the web, your social media, where to find the #DMGC if anybody wants to get their training on for gymnastics. Anything else you want to get off your chest, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, anybody who wants to do gymnastics, even adult gymnastics, we have on Saturdays 1 to 2. You can find us at DominiqueMoceanuGymnasticsCenter.com, and I'm on all social media forums, DMoceanu on Twitter and Dominique Moceanu on Instagram, and my official page on Facebook is Dominique Moceanu Official as well. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dominique. I'm heading out to New York tomorrow myself to cover this event. It's going to be phenomenal. All the best to you and your family. I hope you and your husband have an amazing anniversary weekend. Thank you very much for doing this, and I hope we can do it again down the road.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Safe travels.